Hey y'all, it's Jordyn Swingle with Let's Just Be Real. In a world where we can put a spin and a filter on everything, this podcast is going to be raw and honest about all the things. And I do mean all the things. So, let's get to it.
There was 2 twin girls on my trip. They were Steve Harvey's daughters.
And everyone's going to be jealous, so just start with that. Is it appropriate?
Yes,
okay.
yes. There's no nudity.
I just be doing that sometimes. Well, hi y'all. I cannot wait for this episode because you are in for an absolute treat. I have a dear friend of mine with me today. Her name is Taylor Kirschbaum. She is not only stunning, but incredibly smart, incredibly kind, and she has a story that will absolutely just change your little heart. Are you excited to be here?
I think so.
You think so? You haven't decided yet? Also, this isn't sponsored fully by Poppy, but this is a shameless plug. Hey, Poppy, if you're listening, please sponsor us because these are so delicious.
We get a free pass.
Yeah, and the only way that I have gotten Dylan to not drink Dr. Pepper. So that's a win, right?
That is a win.
That's a win.
That's why it was made.
Because I feel like he would have an IV of Dr. Pepper if I let him. Truly.
That
honest to
sounds
God.
really good.
I know. Okay, so we have so much ground to cover.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm trying not to make this a 3-hour episode. So I want to just dive right in.
Okay.
And talk about all the things because you have been the sweetest addition to my life in the last 4 years.
Thank you.
And I just want all the peoples in the world to know you and to get to hear a side of you that maybe they haven't before.
Well, let's do it.
Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay.
Ready or not?
Ready or not?
Okay.
Here we go. Okay, so I always say this, but I like to start with a foundation of understanding of who my guest is because I know you, but the other people don't.
Right.
So first of all, tell us where you grew up, and everyone's going to be jealous, so just start with that.
I know. Growing up, I wouldn't think anyone would be jealous.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Granbury, Texas. Yeehaw.
If y'all don't know it.
We had a Dairy Queen and a movie theater that showed one movie.
Which we've been to that movie theater, and it's still very tiny.
Yeah, and we had a drive-in, which growing up, I thought that was normal. So we did that a lot.
And you lived on the lake.
We lived on the lake, so.
Like your house was lakefront.
And golf course, lake. We never really went anywhere. We just stayed.
Why would you?
Why would we?
Did you have a boat?
We had a boat, so we pretty much did that every day. My mom would take me and my friends out every day.
Every day?
Every day, yeah. All those videos that's like you are where the kids are like flying off the tube.
Oh my God.
It's like if it shows if you haven't done that. Yeah. Yep.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That just literally sounds, I think that's actually, Dylan and I talk about this all the time. Like that's a goal of ours to have a lake house because I had a best friend growing up that had a lake house in Boyd, I think is where it is. I could be wrong. And some of my best memories are on that lake. Like just chilling. I feel like the lake is different than the beach. Like it's water, but it's just way more relaxed in my opinion.
There's not a lot of things to be scared of.
Well, I'm still scared of friggin' snakes, and apparently there's alligators and crocodiles in our lake. So, I don't know about that. But okay, so you grew up on a lake.
Yes,
you grew up in a small town,
small church,
small family.
My parents still go there, and we've been there since I was 4.
Oh my God.
So when I go back, same pastor's wife, same women's pastor.
I love little small town Texas.
Yeah.
Oh
my parents were youth pastors for a lot of the time growing up. So my life was like we were at church Wednesday. It felt like Thursday, all day Sunday. There was no leaving church. You were there from sun up to what it felt like sundown. And our world was pretty much church. So I got to see what it was like to have a posture of always serving others. My parents would stay up late. They would have couples over, I guess. Looking back, I guess they're probably doing counseling, but it was not out of the norm to come home from school and there would be someone from the youth group there, like a different couple. So
did that have a positive impact on you? Like, do you look back on that with fond memories or do you ever resent that there was like kind of a revolving door?
No, nothing but positive. I think sometimes it added a lot of pressure. Yeah, to be a certain way because I never wanted. It was more of like I didn't want to disappoint my parents, but also the church. Yeah, even though my church was not like.
No, there's just an intrinsic pressure with it.
Was non-denominational.
Oh yeah,
so, Holy Spirit.
There you go. I didn't experience the Holy Spirit till I was like 19. Out of not Baptist church. Okay, yeah, we come up from different. I mean, I was raised like Baptist.
It was always in you.
Girl, yes, that's the mark of the Lord. Come on now, but I love that. I mean, our best friends, Casey and Jen, are a pastor, or he's a pastor. And so I always think about, how does that affect their kids and, you know, those things. And I think it's positive. I think most of it is positive. But I do know, I've heard from other people that grew up with parents that were very involved in church. And it was like, sometimes their attention was divided, right? And they were so focused on serving that sometimes we took a back seat. And so I don't know if that was at all your experience, but
never felt that for some reason.
You have a brother and a sister.
I have an older sister, we're 2 years apart, and then 2 older half brothers.
2 older half brothers. Okay.
That weren't heavily in my life. They would come every other weekend, and then sometimes we wouldn't see them for a long time. But they're 10 and 12 years older.
So it was you and your sister, like, growing up a lot consistently.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because y'all literally look like polar opposites.
Yep.
She has blonde hair and light complexion and tall, and you have brown hair and green eyes. Yeah.
Dad's Italian, mom's Norwegian, and it just like split.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know your mom was Norwegian, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
And your parents are still literally the most stunning people ever.
So they'll be married 40 years in March.
Oh,
I know. Crazy.
That's
both their second marriages.
Okay.
Yeah.
We love a little redemption story. Yeah, I love that. So growing up, you were a rule follower, yeah? No.
Well, appeared to be.
Secretive.
So my sister was the more spirited one, the rule breaker, and owned it. And yep, I did it. You know, never lied. And she, you know, but she always got caught. So that put a lot of stress on my parents because she was, I don't want to say she's rebellious and I was perfect. I was just more crafty, I think, because I didn't want to add stress to my parents. But for the most part, I was pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, but if I snuck out, I was very meticulous about it.
You're like, I'm going to find a way to not get caught and do the things I want to do. I think we all have that in us a little bit. And I think it's hard too when you see your older sibling like blatantly being like, yeah, I did that. And you're like, oh, okay, well, like, I'm not going to have. Yeah, no. So you grow up in a small town, then you go to University of North Texas.
I always knew I wanted to be a teacher.
Always.
Yep, always. And so I actually went to Denton because my sister was already there. Yeah. I lived with her. And so I didn't have to live in the dorms because
super nice.
She had a place, so I just used that address. And so pretty much lived with my sister my whole life, except the 2 years that she had graduated.
Yeah.
And
I bet that was so much fun.
It was so much fun.
And that's actually how we connect. Like, if you trace it all the way back.
I know.
And the fact that we were there at the same time and never met is wild.
We're probably in the same places all the time.
Probably, very much so, yeah.
But yeah, she encouraged me to, you know, be spontaneous, be a little wild. And I always made sure we got home safe and that everyone was alive and well. So
I love that. We're very thankful for you being the mama bear.
Yep.
Okay, so you are at UNT, having the time of your life, living with your sister, and you start dating people. But in the meantime, you're also like, your faith is still very much a big part of your life at that point, right? And you go and you're dating someone at this time.
Yeah. I had a boyfriend pretty much all through college. And that was who I was going to marry. Like, I always had a plan for my life. And everything always worked out. Like, up until, and we'll get there, like 23 years old, God was gracious. And I've looked back and like, gosh, I was blessed. But technically, I wasn't ready for anything hard. Yeah. I never lost a loved one. Nothing ever earth-shattering happened to me. And anything that I wanted always worked out. I worked for it, but it always worked out. Like, every door was opened. I didn't have any doors really shut.
Until it didn't.
And
until it didn't. And by the grace of God, right? I talk about this all the time, that like, God uses my mistakes and brings glory from that. And because I could screw it up 10 ways a Sunday, right? But like, God's always going to use the things that I feel like are not going to my plan, right, for my good and His glory. So talk about that. So you break up with your long-term boyfriend.
Right.
You just start dating around.
Yes. And then I decided I'm going to go to Africa.
And you go to Johannesburg.
I go to Johannesburg, Africa. And it was so much money. And my parents were like, we'll give you this much, but you got to do the rest. And I was like, you got it. I don't think they really thought
you were going to do it.
That I was going to do it. And I think my mom, she said she was kind of worried because she knew that if I went, I probably wouldn't come back. And so I raised the money. I made shirts. I sold them to like so many people in Denton, and went to Johannesburg, and I worked with some schools in these refugee camps. So Johannesburg is a huge city and it has a lot of job opportunities. So people from all over Africa travel to get to Johannesburg to try to get a job. In the meantime, they live in these, like, you build your shack out of whatever you can find, cardboard, stop signs. Yeah. And every shack there's a family from a different country. And so, and those kids are just kind of displaced and are not in school. They're not accounted for. So this organization called Impact Africa put almost like little warehouses, and they made schools so that kids could go to school while they're being displaced in these refugee camps. And so I just knew, I was like, oh my gosh, I have 1 year left in college. I wanted to quit. And I'm glad my dad didn't. He's like, don't quit. I was like, okay. So I came back. I finished out my senior year, and my plan was to go back to Africa. And this is when I met Jay, was kind of before then.
Who's your now husband.
And we got invited to a wedding together, and I was single. We went, we had fun. And I said, well, I'm going to go to Africa, but I don't know how long I'm going to stay. So I went to Africa again, but I didn't end up staying that long, and I came back. But the plan was still to like,
you were going to
uproot my life and move there.
Absolutely.
And then
those 2 little pink lines. Baby.
Yes, baby. I got pregnant, and I just remember like looking at it, and instead of it takes 2 to tango, baby.
Yeah, 100%.
I was so mad at God, like so mad. Like this is not part of the plan.
He's like, hey, baby, remember A plus B equals what? Oh, C. Yes. Yeah.
Yep. And I was like, well, you're going to call my dad as soon as I peed on the stick, Jay, and we're going to get married. And that's what we're going to do. And luckily I picked a man that was like, okay,
I'd love to marry you.
And no one pressured me. My parents didn't pressure me. In fact, they they wanted me to
make to take a second and be like, okay, is this the decision I want to make, or am I making this off of this, pregnancy test?
Yeah. And so within like 3.5 months, we planned a wedding. And so like within a span of like 6 months, my whole plan for my life and trajectory just flipped upside down, and I became a wife and a mom, or soon to be mom. Yeah. And moved into a tiny apartment.
Wow. Okay. Think back to like that. That's enough to make anybody be like, what in the world? You know what I mean? Like, but how sweet.
Yes.
That you became a mom and a wife in a way that wasn't according to your plan, and yet God used it to make this beautiful life that you have now. Right?
At the time.
And could you imagine not having Gavin?
No.
He's the most incredible child. First of all, he's a future professional soccer player. Like, let's not get it twisted. That child is one of the most gifted athletes I think I've ever seen, which is wild. But, something that in that moment you felt a lot of despair over, because that really did. It flipped your whole plan upside down. But now you look back and see, wow, God used that for my good. And for other people's good. Right.
And Jay and I didn't know each other that long. I didn't even say that. So like we'd only been dating kind of even off and on for a year, because I would break up with him and be like, the Lord
is calling me to Africa.
And then, I don't know, I was drawn to him and went back. And I think I was drawn to him because he was not on paper at all who I ever thought I would marry, just because, I don't know, he just wasn't the staple person.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad he's not.
Yeah.
And we both figured it out together.
You grew up together.
We grew up together.
Yeah.
And I think that's really shaped me into the mother that I am today.
Oh, I agree.
Because I, first comes love, then comes marriage.
Right.
That was my plan. But I'm so glad I'm a mom that it came back. It turned out backwards.
Well, and that also just like probably was the first time where you had to reconcile with your dependence on the Lord.
I thought I trusted God.
I can't make
up
this
until
plan
that point
look different. Yeah. God, like you took control, and this is what it's going to look like now.
I didn't know what true trust in God was.
Yeah.
Because, I trust God because everything's great.
Right.
Everything's
it's easy to trust when everything's going according to the plan.
And I had to really learn what it was like to trust God. And my dad was always one that instilled in us whenever you're going through something hard, because who he is today and the successful person he is was not due to his circumstances, but was due to his choices, because he was dealt the poor hand, or, he had to overcome a lot and work hard. And if you think that you turn out the way you turn out due to your circumstances, a lot of times you can become like a victim to it. And then you just get stuck, and God can't grow you when you are pity party poor me. And that's where I was for a while. My whole pregnancy, looking back, I was such a pity party.
It's like Jonah and Nineveh.
Yes.
100%. Like Jonah's like, God, I don't want to go to Nineveh. And he's like, you're going to go to Nineveh and you're going to do what I ask you to do. And you're going to see that, you know, I'm in control and I'm good.
Right. So I was like, I'm just going to choose to, you know, see what God has for me in this.
Yeah.
You know, this is who I am now. I'm a mom. I have a son, and let's see how God can use this for good. But you have to do your part too. And so, oh my gosh, I grew so much in that. And I finally earned some grit.
There you go.
And I feel like that's like who I am as a mom today. I learned how to juggle things. I had to learn how to be a mom, you know, a wife, a teacher, all at once, and figure it out fast.
Yeah.
Because everything happened fast.
So fast.
And throughout that, I just trusted God and never gave up. I drove Dre insane. Like, this is how it's going to be. But
he's like, okay. And there's no flexibility in that. And you're like, nope, we're going to do it this way.
No.
Yeah. But I think that it really has like, you do juggle a whole lot and you do it with ease and grace. And probably
I don't think that I could.
No.
If everything turned out.
If God hadn't stripped you of control and said, this is what's going to look like for you to be 100% dependent on me. And I think that that's a common theme in your life. Like, I think that the Lord often uses that to draw you back to himself. And I think that that's where you and I are kindred spirits, right? And like, we're stubborn women who want things the way that we want them. And we're going to go through a brick wall to get there. And sometimes God has to stop us in our tracks and say, no, hold on. I'm going to help you in this way. Yeah. Right. So fast forward to, you have Gavin, you and Jay are married. You have baby Huey, who is literally the most delicious human being in the world. Oh my God, I love him so much. Him and Campbell are like thick as thieves, which I love. And then you find yourself like teaching, and life is very different. And then you get this random DM from Jenna Schutze.
Yes. So let's see. Gavin was, I think, 5. It was during COVID, or a little bit. It was like the summer of 2020. And up until that point, Jay and I had gone through lots of marriage counseling and had finally made it to the other side because, like I said, my parents have been married for 40 years. So I had this view of what marriage was supposed to look like. I was gifted with the loving home, and just my mom and dad, they're still so romantic. Yeah. Like, they just got back from a week vacation in Jamaica. Like,
so sometimes that can set unrealistic expectations for us. Yeah.
Once Jay and I were having a hard time, I'm like, oh, this is not how it's supposed to be. Not how it's supposed to be.
It's not how my mom and dad did it.
Because I know what it's supposed to look like. No, I was very much an issue too. Yeah. So everything I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy in my marriage. My kids are healthy. But 2020 kind of really opened my eyes to like how lonely my life was in the friendship world. Like, I had a lot of friends, but we were all in different seasons in life because Jay and I got pregnant at 23. And so our friends were finishing college, starting their careers, and you try to make time for people you love. And my friends did, but when you're not in the same season, it's hard to connect.
Absolutely. It's
hard for them to relate, and I can't really relate to them. And when they say they're so tired, I'm like, I have no sympathy for you. And so I remember praying one night that God would send me like some good godly girls. Just fleeting thought. Literally the next day, your cousin, Jenna, who would like message me on Instagram or like my stuff. And her husband was Jay's roommate in college. Yeah. But I had never met her before. And I don't think I'd ever met Casey either, her husband. So she messaged me. Do you have it? Did I send it to you?
I think you sent it to me.
It was so random.
She was like, hey girl, if you ever want to get together.
Yeah, she's like, we like the same books. And
she said, love this post. I know you're a busy mama, but if you ever want to get the babies together to play, we'd love that. We only have girls within our friends, so Bennett could use some boy time. LOL, I love watching your post. I feel like we have a lot in common. Yes. And it all started there. And I love that so much. And I think that's so important that we like pause and talk about that because we talk about this a lot on the podcast. Like, friendship is such a rich element of my life. And I feel like I've been very fortunate to have really deep friendships with the people that I really work at those relationships with. And I love Jenna so much for that reason, because I think that she has this ability of like seeing someone for who they are, calling that out in them and being like, hey, come hang out with us. Like, join, there's plenty of room at the table. And that's what she did for
I know. And I tell her all the time, like, I'm so thankful you listened to the Lord. Yeah. And slid into my DMs.
I love
like
that.
My favorite favorite.
And she like gatekeeped you for at least like 3 or 4 months.
I screenshot it right away, sent it to Jay. I'm like, should I go? Like, this is so weird. Like, to go to someone's house with my kids and like I don't know her.
Yeah.
So I went. So I remember parked outside of her house, and I almost just wanted to drive away.
Just be like,
but I thought, you know what, God, you did your end. You know, I prayed. You followed through real quick, and I'm going to do it. So I went in and we were there for hours.
That's called the Schutza house effect. It's like a black hole. You never want to leave. You get there and you forget what time it is. It's like Vegas.
Gosh, we had so much fun. And from then, just our friendship, it grew closer. It bloomed. And 6-7 months later, she finally,
like, hey, there's this friend I've been hanging out with. And you have to understand, Jenna was known to do this.
Yes.
She would like, we talked about this all the time. She would just like we'd be like, where you at? She's like, I'm having coffee with so-and-so. They reached out to me 6 times. I'm like, what? Oh my God. Like, I couldn't keep up with it. And so honestly, at first I was like, I was like, oh, this is a girl that she's going to see occasionally. But like, she was like, no, I really want you to meet this girl. Like, I think you guys would have a lot in common. And I was like, all right, like, let's hang out. And then I was like, oh my God.
It was like a snow day.
Yes,
and I was like,
it was a snow day.
We have like sleds. And she's like, I think I'm going to bring my friend Jordyn. And I was like, okay. And then you pull up in this big old minivan.
Oh my gosh.
Was this like a broken
down
minivan?
Yeah, it was such a hoopty. We were fostering at the time and I had like 20 kids. And I like opened these doors and all my kids come piling out.
Yeah, opened my front door and just 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids. 4.
Yeah.
Anyways, and oh my gosh, we had so much fun.
We had so much fun.
And we launched our kids on those sleds.
Do you remember Ellie and Gavin and Chandler? Y'all, literally, that could have gone viral if someone filmed it because they went so fast and we couldn't do anything. We're at the top of the hill watching them bomb this hill and I'm like,
and
our
these
kids
people came up
maybe
and
not
like,
okay.
Yeah, they were like, we don't have kids, but we want to be y'all.
So wild. We're like, yeah, the hands off parents, that's us.
Yes, because we're like, oh, whenever they landed.
It was so funny.
And so twin flames, like when I met you and it's like, oh my gosh, in same passionate spirit. We got real close that day in my kitchen and I let you in and y'all are invasive.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
100%.
Yeah. It's not just like, oh, I met some new friends and like,
we're like, hey, what's your blood type and what's your story and what's your security number?
Yeah.
Like, yes. Everything there is to know about you.
And I was hesitant at first, but then it's like, finally, like a breath of fresh air. There's not, and I had close friends and they know all this stuff, but I didn't have any close friends that had kids that I could relate to that actually took the time to care and like want to know me. And godly friends, like, and their intentions are pure and just, and if you would ask me if I'm okay and I'm like, yeah, you're like, no, you're not. Like,
I can see it.
Dang it.
I know. Yeah. I think that our personality types, we can move so fast and it's hard to let people in sometimes. But I think that that's something that I've really valued is that you haven't always wanted us to be right next to your side when things were difficult, but we were like, we're here.
I know.
We ain't going nowhere. But I think after a while you were like, oh, they're genuine. Yeah. Like they really want to love me.
But seeing the good that comes out of it, I understand why the enemy wants you alone or why the enemy wants you to have surface level friendships. Because not only is it great to have close friends when you're going through it, but like all the other, like the creativity that you can bring out in each other. And I would have never tried photography.
Oh, yeah.
I would have never tried that if it weren't for you. And so much that's brought me so much joy and it's something fun that's not like work.
Yeah.
And all the families I get to meet thugh that.
And you're dang good at it.
And I get to see my students that are seniors now.
Yeah.
Because I get to take their pictures and I would have never have ever tried that or even had the guts to if I didn't meet you and let you in. And then celebrating each other. Yeah. Like really like, let's go to dinner. It's your birthday. Let's go to dinner. You got accepted somewhere. Just like, all the good. And then when it's not so good too. It's just, and you get to see the beauty of God and friendship and why he is so big about community and having people around you.
Agree. And I can echo that of just like the value that you've added to my life of you are so good at celebrating your people. Like it's something I envy about you so much, like your intentionality and your gift giving and your words of encouragement. Like we literally over Christmas break, you wrote down all the things that in our friend group to celebrate. And that I like was so moved by that. I want you to know that because
it's a long year. There's
it's been we had a year and then we had another. I feel like we've had a year in the last 2 months, but like genuinely, I so love that. And I think that our lives would be so lacking without you. Yeah. And so I'm glad that you got out of your car that day at Jenna's house and everything was different.
My gosh. It all started with Jenna. I'm glad Jenna started with Jenna.
And it often does.
Yeah, but if you're feeling the tug on your heart to reach out to someone, do it.
Do it. Slide into that DM. And what do you have to lose? Like, really, what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
All that is pride, right? Mm-hmm. So you mentioned something that I want to hit on because we have celebrated the big things. Mm-hmm. And we walked through the storms, right? Yeah. We've walked through some really difficult things as a friend group and difficult things that you've personally gone through.
Right.
So was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago in August?
2.
So 2 years ago.
It sure feels like 2 decades.
I know. 2 years ago, you let us know that you were pregnant, right?
Yes.
And then shortly after that,
it was 3 years ago.
3 years
Sorry,
ago.
I didn't know we were touching on that.
Oh, yeah.
That was 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Gosh, that's been a long time. So 3 years ago in August, you miscarried a baby.
And I was so excited about it. I'm sorry.
Not excited about the miscarriage,
I was so excited about yes, we have 2 boys. Just even entertaining the idea of having a girl was just like hard to even fathom because that's what I've always wanted. But also having a 3rd boy would be so fun too because boys
because you're a total boy mom too.
I am a boy mom. Yeah. And so and I'm such a future minded. So as soon as I saw those pink lines, I'm like, yes. Fast forward in my mind of all the things, all the good things ahead. And then just so quickly, it
was gone.
It was gone. And that instant, I hadn't felt that anger of like, God, why? Until I saw those pink lines when I was pregnant with Gavin, because it's like, wasn't part of the plan. This wasn't part of the plan either. Like my plan.
The loss wasn't a part of your plan.
Yeah, the loss was not a part of my plan. And
it's okay if you do.
I know it's okay if I do.
But once
anyone starts, it's hard. It did. It rocked me. And also in that I didn't realize just how I got so busy in life, how like far away I was from God. And not far, like because I have a close relationship, but I wasn't hearing him as much. And it wasn't until that moment that I was like, wow, I've missed you. And so I had told y'all about it, like sent you text. And I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah, you're like, I'm fine. I'm processing it. And we're like,
knock, knock, and then, knock. Of course, that next morning, doorbell rings. And oh my gosh, you, Brittany, Ashley, Christine, y'all were there with muffins, Jenna. And I was like, okay. And y'all came in the living room. We prayed, listened to worship music. And that was the first time I experienced like real, raw friendship. Like you show up and like right then and there. And what? It's just like, I can't imagine going through that alone. And it just makes me so angry about the enemy because that's what they want is for you to be alone.
He wants to rob you,
isolate you and rob you of all the good that can come from it. And
it did come from it. Good did
come from it. And I remember wanting to know why that happened. Why? But then, my mom's like, do you really want to know why?
No.
It's like, no, I don't. But I feel like we have to have answers. Like if I just have an answer, then I can have clarity.
Then I can reason it away and I don't have to
move on and have clarity. Yeah. But that's the beauty of God is that we don't get the answers always.
And sometimes that is that blind faith. Right.
Yeah. And that's what faith is. And if I had an answer, then I wouldn't need God.
Right.
And
we had just walked through, like right before that, we had walked through losing Stokely. And that was so tender to my heart and so near. And I think it was something that the Lord used to even bond us further of like, I know that pain. Like I didn't birth that baby from my body, but I did lose him. And that is not a pain that I would wish on my worst enemy. And I so badly in that moment wanted to like just wrap you in a hug and say like, on the other side of this, God is still good. Mm-hmm. And I think that now you can look back on that and say that. But in that moment, it was not good. No. And it was not fun. And I was so thankful that you opened that door and let us in because I could tell you didn't want to. Right. You wanted to push it away and like, I'll get through it and it'll be fine. And that's sometimes your MO. And I love that the Lord is like, no, these are your people.
For some reasons.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to like compartmentalize and move on. But like for that, I think that the Lord just reminded you of like, no, I'm going to be present in this discomfort and I'm going to bring people to walk alongside of you. And he's so gracious to do that.
And I feel like the only way you can feel like there is good on the other side is when you actually go through it, trusting God. And if you bring in community when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Because that's my favorite view, is when you get to the other side and you can look back and see the good.
And see the people that walked it with you. Yeah. And that was the beginning of a really challenging season for you guys.
Oh, yeah. After that, it was like
the floodgates open.
You better buckle up.
Yeah, because we're going through it. And, you know, and also that was just like a really, I feel like I remember very clearly like peaks and valleys in our friend group.
Yeah.
Right now we're in somewhat of a valley, right?
Yeah.
I think, you know, with Perry's diagnosis, one of our best friends, Ashley, her daughter's 2, and just got diagnosed with ALL, leukemia. And that's rocked us as a friend group. But I think it's also drawn us closer again because I think it's in these moments that we're like, oh my God, I need you.
Yeah.
Like I need my people in my corner. And so you guys walk through your loss.
Yes.
And that was brutal.
Yeah. And that was hard on our marriage because I think I can't speak on it, but like for the father, it's hard for them to feel or to know or experience loss on the mother's level since they didn't carry the baby.
But it's still a loss.
Right. And life was busy and I just wasn't aware of the stuff Jay was going through. I know that the miscarriage contributed a lot to it, but just other stuff, I just didn't see it. I wasn't paying attention. And this is when alcohol became a huge part of our marriage story.
Yeah.
And so it was a long year of kind of dealing with it and me not wanting to address it because I thought, oh, it's fine. And it wasn't.
Yeah.
And when you hear God tugging on your heart and wanting you to address something, do it.
Do it right then. Do it right then.
Because every day that goes by, every month that goes by, it's just giving the enemy more ammo to dig and just.
Well, and also talking about what you're going through. Like
and
with one another in your marriage. Yeah, because you were grieving and you were grieving in a completely different. Dylan and I just had this conversation about like when we lost Stokely, we both grieved so differently. But I told him, I was like, I was so consumed by my own grief that I could not recognize that you were hurting. And I couldn't deal with it. And I think you and I dealt with our grief very similar. And I think Jay has that in him too. Like Dylan can shut down and like those kind of things. But, you know, and Dylan knows himself too. Dylan has an addictive personality. Dylan's actually never had a drop of alcohol in his entire life because he knows that, you know, that would be an issue, right? And it was an issue for Jay. And you guys had to really, really crawl through that battle together. And that was rough.
Right. And so a year later, the last 3 Augusts have been hard. So that August was hard. And then fast forward a year later, that August, I'm getting ready to go. I'm a teacher, so I'm getting ready to go back to school. And my world was like flipped upside down, just
on its head.
And so my first instinct was pack the boys up. I'm going to Granbury.
I'm going to
I'm going to my mom and dad. So I went there and my mom was like, what do you want to do today? And so we prayed, listened to worship music, and we're going to go see a movie. And so I'm getting ready, I shower, and my dad's going to stay home with the boys. And I come out and my mom's like, so...
your invasive friends are here.
I just got off the phone with Jordyn. I was like, oh, okay. And she goes, and so they're on their way to Granbury. Is that okay? Should I tell them to turn around? I'm like, no, it's fine. And I just, of course you are on the way to Granbury.
Yeah.
And I called you and I met you at this restaurant on the lake and we sat on the patio and
well, we talked.
We
solved all the world's problems that night, I think. We talked about so many things. I mean,
you slowed me down because I was in...
You were in like, okay, we're going to do this and then we're going to do it. And I was like, baby, we need to,
like,
like, let's take a breath. Like, let's process what's just happened.
Like, no, I figured out my life now.
Yeah. I'm so thankful that you once again opened the door.
Yeah.
Because the minute I heard your voice, I was like, oh no, we're going, period. Like I called Jenna and she was like, yep, let's get in the car. Like we told our husbands to the kids. Like there was no question because I think the depth of friendship that we really all have together, which is such a gift. I say it again, like it is by God's grace, is like when you know that your friend is hurting, you simply go to them. That is my behavior. That's just my nature. And maybe it's a savior mentality and maybe it's my downfall.
No, it's good.
But I knew that you needed us in that moment and we needed to see you. Like we needed to be there for you and Jay. Like it wasn't just about you. It was also about Jay and it was about supporting your family unit. And we did. We talked that night and I was like, girl, Pump
it's like,
the freaking brakes.
I know. You need to sit in the ugly. And looking back,
and then we went and saw Redeeming Love and like bawled our eyes out.
No, it wasn't that. It was where the crawdads sing.
Oh, where the crawdads sing. Yeah, it was so sad. But it was really good.
And the lady, yeah,
we kept looking over at you like, are you good? Are you crying?
Good.
Yeah,
I'm
it was very cathartic to like have that conversation and then go have a crying session in the movie theater, in the 4-seat movie theater that Grayberry has.
Our one movie theater. So looking back at all those hard moments, it's like, and now even because I'm still in the thick of it, it's like wave after wave. But I feel like I just have this, and I'll credit to Gavin. He doesn't even know it. But like through Gavin, I learned how to experience hard things by trusting God. And that is just the thing that I cling on to. And when something hard happens, I'm like, it's time to shine, baby. We're going to build them bones.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while to get to the good, but it's like I said, you're a product of your choices, and you don't always have control of what happens to you, but you get to choose
your reaction,
how you handle it.
Yeah,
you get to choose how to move forward. And if you trust in God, you're going to move forward the right way. It might take a while. It might not.
And it might be painful as hell.
Oh, painful as hell.
Yeah.
That God does not promise us a beautiful, pain-free life that I
thought. Up in a bow. You're like,
I thought for 23 years.
Yeah, and I was wrong.
But thank God it's not. I mean,
and I'm thankful that if I can give you credit anywhere, it's that you press on. You're a faithful wife. You are a faithful friend.
And
you're
I got
a faithful
to experience like when you make those vows on your wedding day. And I think writing your own vows is beautiful, but even the traditional ones, like I now know, just in a very short span of our marriage, we married 9 years, but I found out real quickly what in sickness and in health means. And there's no like, oh, I didn't sign up for this. No, I did sign up for this.
I gave you my vow.
I gave you my vow.
Yeah.
And no, it's not what I planned, because nothing goes as what Taylor's plans. But if I am a wife of an alcoholic, that's who I am. And that's what God has planned for me. And damn, did he see me fit to be that wife.
He did. And Jay is so thankful that God gave him to you. I know that. Like in the depths of Jay's heart, he adores you and he knows that you're his rock. And there's been times where Jay's been your rock, and Jay's picked you up when you were throwing a little tantrum on the ground, right? But I love that the Lord knew in 2020 what was coming in the following 4 years. And he knew that we would all be better for it.
I know.
And that we would have a testimony of, hey, look what happens when we rally around the people that we love.
I know.
And we fight with them, because this is a battle. The Bible says that you bear one another's burdens. Yeah. And we've gotten to do that. And it's such a gift. And Jay's a gift and your a gift. And like, seriously, I want people to hear that, because it is not like, just because his struggle is different from my struggle or whatever it is, doesn't mean that he needs Jesus any more than I do, because believe that. I'll be needing him. Okay. I need him.
And if you just knew Jay's story or how he was raised, I mean, I feel like he just felt like, well, this is how it's supposed to turn out.
Right.
I'll be damned if it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why I'm your wife, and he's my husband for so many other reasons. But he's got a story to tell, and I can't wait.
And he's the funniest freaking human and is such a charmer. When we were in the house process, so I was their realtor.
Oh because of Jenna's DM, now I now have my beautiful house.
The most girl, one of my favorite houses that I've ever sold, ever.
He's a spitfire.
But me and Jay, and I love it because I can dish it out just as well as anybody else, and me and him go toe to toe, and I love that about him. We're Enneagram mates through and through, but I love that. We're now, even as collectively, like looking back, being like, no, the Lord knew what he was doing. And he knew the things that were going to happen. And he knew the good that's on the other side of it.
Yep.
And, and this year has been challenging too. And it's not to be wrapped up in a pretty bow. It's we press on, right? It's daily sanctification. It's what Paul talks about finishing the race, and that we're all still in this race together.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that you guys have allowed us to walk alongside you in this.
And I think, because I was gifted with 23 years of what you would
think.
Bliss. It's like, you know what? If the next 23 years are the opposite, like I feel like I do find joy in going through hard things. I might not at the time realize it, but when you get to the other end, there's so much joy and you grow so much.
Yeah.
Gosh, I would rather be in where I'm at now than on the lake. Well, maybe not, but I mean, the life that I've lived now is so much more fruitful.
It's more rich.
It's purposeful. And I worked for it. And my relationship with God is 10 times stronger because of it. So I'm just every year expecting it to get worse and get better at the same time.
Yeah, you're like, okay. And I mean, my mom and I talk about this. We talk about this all the time about how like Paul talks about the thorn in your side. And like, that is the thing that keeps me humble. Like God knew I needed one leg because I'd be insufferable if I had two legs. It'd be over for y'all if I had two legs. You know what I mean? No, but like seriously, there's things that God has used in my life that have wounded me.
Yeah, dealing with my run.
But like God's wounded me for my good.
Yep.
And that has been your story too. And I think that's also why God knew we needed each other. Yeah. Every brunette and blonde pair, you know? So I'm really, really proud of you. I'm really proud of the wife that you are. I'm really proud of the woman that you are. I'm proud of your boldness and your faith and just your ability to press on. It's like so inspiring. And I want y'all to know that. Like there is no difficulty ahead of you that God is surprised by or that God can't handle. And he can also handle your fit of anger in the midst of it because you have a right to be angry with your life.
I've done my Bible.
I've said some words, baby.
Let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had my little part. You better back up, guy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he laughs and is like, I can handle it, you know? But I think it needs to be said because it can be really lonely when you feel like nobody's life is this difficult, right? Like somebody else out there has it way better than me. But then you look around and it's like, no, everybody's struggling. Like everybody's in pain.
Absolutely.
And we're all trying to figure out how the heck to get through it. Yeah. And I think that your testimony is one that God is going to continue to use to draw people in and be like, hey, even in the midst of the darkest night of your life, I'm there.
Yep. And real quick. So when I was in Africa, I somehow, there was 2 twin girls on my trip. They were Steve Harvey's daughters. We were playing a game and they were like trying to get me to guess Mary J. Blige. They're like, who is the queen of R&B? And I was like, Beyonce. And they were like, no. And I was like, Rihanna. And they're like, no. And so, yeah, anyways, those girls were some bougie girls and we were not in a bougie place. And they would always say, I would hear them, oh, he saw fit. The Lord saw fit for me to be here. The Lord saw fit. And so I feel like that is like my motto when I'm like on my knees and crying. I'm like, you saw fit for me to be here. You saw fit for me to go through this. And God doesn't mess up ever.
No.
And so who am I to question him?
Yeah.
And why prolong the pain? Let's get to it. Like,
let's feel it.
Let's do it.
Let's process it. Yeah, man. Come on, Taylor. You're preaching here today, girl. I'm like, that your daddy's a preacher.
Like all my thoughts.
No, I love it. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Okay, so not to like wrap it up, but to wrap it up.
No, and it went by so fast.
I know it did. So if you could look back at that 23-year-old girl who's getting her world rocked, what would you say to her?
The funny in me would say, buckle it up. Yeah. Take all your plans and throw it out the window. Or like, you don't even know the true peace of God. You don't know I had no clue what it was like to put my faith in God. I sure thought I did. And just thankful for God's plan for my life.
Yeah.
As much as I thought I was so ungrateful and so angry. I don't know.
I think that's perfect.
It's a hard question.
I know. That's why I asked it. I think it's perfect. I think that I would say the same thing to myself. You know, I was 22 when I got pregnant. I was married, but it was still what I walked through in that time was so difficult and so challenging. And I thought that I really had like dealt with it, you know, and I thought that like, okay, like surely I've suffered enough, right? Because I didn't have mine was like flip-flop. Like the first 22 years of my life were really difficult and the last like 10 have been really great.
Yes.
But I think that that's a good word of like, take your plans and throw them away because what God has is so much better.
It's so much better.
So much better.
A girl, he don't need me in Africa. He needed me
right here.
Right here
in Damped Up. Oh my gosh. Okay. So one like selfish thing that I've been doing on every episode is asking, what is your favorite memory of the two of us?
Oh my gosh.
I know. And I didn't give you time to prepare.
Okay. Yeah. Seriously.
I asked Jenna and she literally couldn't recall a single memory.
I have so many. Okay. Oh, my favorite memory. Okay. It was when.
Is it appropriate?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. There's no nudity.
You can share.
Okay.
If anyone knows me, you know how I do that.
Okay. No, okay. I remember I was like, I have got to bring y'all down to Granbury. Like where my parents live, we can watch airplanes, we can go on the lake, we can go to the square. So we picked out a weekend in the summer, and my dad hadn't met you, nor did he know anything about you. And so I was like, my friend Jordyn and Jenna and their whole clan, the whole
all
50 of them, all 20 of them are coming down. And he's like, okay, yeah, come on. And so y'all pull up, and my dad, I was like, Dad, go help them unload.
Oh, no.
You open up your trunk and you literally hand them your leg.
My swimming leg.
Your swimming leg, your little transformer leg. And so I forgot to tell, not that it was even anything. And it's my dad.
He must have handled it with grace because I didn't even know he didn't know.
A bag and your transformer shoulder. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you.
She has swim leg. That could have been a key piece of information that you forgot to tell.
I'm sure he was like, what is this?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
She brought a mannequin with her. That's hilarious.
It was awesome.
And honestly, oddly enough, that is not isolated to you. Many of my friends' parents, one time, I left my swimming leg in one of my best friend's showers, and his dad opened the shower. We'd all been swimming at his house, and his dad opened the shower, and he called me and was like, you just gave me a heart attack because you left your leg in the shower. So I just be doing that sometimes. Well, that was perfect. Yeah. I am so freaking thankful that you decided to come on. I'm thankful that you decided to share everything. Cheers for our poppy drinks.
Yes.
Shout out
Fun
to them
fact,
again.
she's my college roommate.
Yeah. Taylor knows famous people. It's wild. But I love you, and I'm so, so thankful for you. And I can't wait for the joyful season to come. In Jesus'
Stay
name.
tuned. It's
in Jesus'
part
name.
1.
Okay, bye. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to my mom's podcast, Let's Just Be Real. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, like, follow, rate, and review so you don't miss any of these honest and amazing stories. For all of the behind-the-scenes content, go follow my mom at Jordyn Swingle on Instagram. And as always, let's just be real.